Welcome to Creative Brews. I'm Kristen, and this is your weekly dose of creativity, where photography, design, and life come together. So, grab your favorite drink, and let's talk about what's brewing. Hello, and welcome back to part 2 of the last episode. So, the last episode was about my birth story. It was longer than I thought it would be, or than I was trying to make it. I kind of knew that it was going to be long, which is why I just kind of didn't, try to dwindle down the story even more. However, I was also trying not to have 2 parts to this episode, but that's okay. So this is going to be more on motherhood and from that point of view. So if you haven't tuned into the last episode, that's all about my birth story. It's more for me to document, to look back on more than anything. However, I do and did and will talk about motherhood and becoming someone you've never been before. So that's in the whole grand scheme of things, that's what I want to talk about. We'll go over the becoming, the duality of motherhood, mental health and mindset tools, as well as the spiritual side of things. So, yes, I want to emphasize, obviously, that this is not just about a birth story. It's a becoming story more than anything, okay? So, again, if you want to hear that story, you can tune in to the last episode. These episodes will probably go up in the same week. So yeah. A quick note here on intention is to share both the beauty and the realness of motherhood. So the duality. Yes, we're going to start with the becoming. So, motherhood has been full of growth, learning, healing, and love, as I talked about in my birth story in the last episode. You have evolved into someone you've never been before, stronger, softer, grounded, feeling amazed by your own strength and capacity for love, as well as gratitude for your fiance and your baby, and how that love flows and pours in both ways. So I will say this, my experience with motherhood so far has been amazing. And I'm only saying that from a place of love. I obviously in the last episode touched on struggling. I know what it's like to struggle and stuff like that. What it's like to feel like you're doing the right things, but nothing's changing. Nothing's happening. Nothing's growing. You're not growing. You know what I mean? It's basically like you walked up to this wall and you're beating your head on the wall. You know what I mean? That's what it almost feels like. So I do acknowledge that my experience is a privilege, obviously, because not all mothers can sit there and say that they have had an amazing experience. So, yes, not everyone's story looks the same, obviously. Motherhood and pregnancy is different for everyone. And that is okay. It is okay. Just because you're struggling doesn't mean you should try to take down someone who's not. And, if you're not struggling, you don't need to be so selfish that you can't see, that you kind of belittle the other one struggling. You know what? Like, I guess in general terms is what I'm talking about. Like, generally, if someone's doing great, they're like all about themselves and stuff like that. And sometimes they just, whatever. I hope all that made sense. But I am affirming that every version of motherhood is valid and is okay. That is okay. So here's kind of a quote to think about, an idea to think about, but it's this. This isn't just motherhood, it's me becoming who I was always meant to be. Just think about that for a minute. So we're going to go ahead and move into segment 2 here, duality of motherhood, and it's just that. It's the fact that like I said, have had an amazing motherhood experience, and I'm continuing. It's been nothing but healing, growing, loving, peaceful, all the things. But I do want to talk about the flip side because, again, not every woman can sit there and say that they, are having the same experience as you. So, motherhood holds both joy and exhaustion, love and overwhelm. It's sacred and it's messy all at once. You can love your own baby deeply and still miss who you were before. Both can be true, and that is okay. I know all of these things to some people might sound like a duh, but in our society, we don't really stop to think or talk about some of these things that I want to talk about in today's episode. So that is the reason why I want to touch on these things. That's the reason why I want to bring on my friend and her husband and my fiance. So that way, we can share all of our different points of view and experiences and things because we all have that. Clarify. So here's some clarification. Beautiful, quote unquote, doesn't mean easy. Okay? Just because someone says it's beautiful or amazing doesn't mean they're saying, well, it's been so easy and breezy. You know what I mean? So let's not, let's go ahead and get that out there, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It means choosing to grow through the hard. That's what it actually means. And so before I say this, I want to encourage moms to not dim their happiness or peacefulness because of others' projections. Again, I touched on projections a few episodes ago in the bonus episode. And again, any mom out there should not dim their happiness. You also shouldn't dim your light and water yourself down. It's all about elevation. And obviously I want every mom to be elevated, to be happy, to be healthy. But we all know, as within life, with life there comes struggle, there comes sadness, there comes happiness, and all the waves and woes of life, right? So the ups and downs and in-betweens, like, just with life, that is in with motherhood, unfortunately, but also fortunately. So where I came from a place of struggle before I was pregnant. And I do mean struggle, okay? However, I do not miss the person I was, so I cannot relate to that. Whereas you listening or you tuning in, you might be able to relate to that. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't embrace who you're becoming. You are becoming someone you've never been before, you've never met. You can't sit down and go check out a book and read about what's to come. You just can't. But that's also the beauty, which is why I feel like this is such a full circle moment, because November also seems that way. You know, fall time seems that way. The change of seasons, right? So here's the key. Well, okay, and let me touch on this as well. Obviously, I did write down a few things. The "you're lucky" or "you have it so easy." No one truly knows someone else's story or struggles, right? I can sit here and tell you my story all day long, but that doesn't really get the point across. You don't know the struggle because you can't feel the struggle, right? So, anyways, a key takeaway here is don't let someone else's pain make you feel guilty for your peace. So, if you're like me and you're having an amazing motherhood, you shouldn't allow other people's projections and assumptions take you down. Obviously, I'm not sitting here saying, well, you should just be selfish and you should, tear down or, no. Like, I don't think female to female, woman to woman, that we should be tearing each other down. What I'm trying to do is help elevate other women who are maybe struggling now or have struggled, who can relate, but also to the woman who isn't struggling, who is happy and growing and healing and all of that. I hope that all makes sense. All right, let's go ahead and move into segment 3, or I guess what you would dub as segment 3. I don't really know. Anyways, the mental health and mindset tools. Obviously, like I just stated, I want to help elevate all women, whether you're struggling or you're not, right? So that also means let's give some information and some maybe tips, maybe tricks, maybe things to think about here and ideas to help elevate you, right? To help you, I don't know the correct term to use here, but to help uplift your spirits, right? So some creative reframing. I've got some affirmations, boundaries, and all that stuff. Realizing mom guilt and all of that. So replace "I'm exhausted" with "I'm expanding." Affirm. So remind yourself and affirm within yourself, "I am doing my best, and that is enough." You've got to take it one day at a time. Be where your feet are. Those two quotes a few years ago is when I heard them when I was struggling. And let me tell you, I thought those two were the most stupidest quotes because they didn't work for me. But now I get it. Now that I've been through the struggle and I've been through growing and healing, reflecting, realizing things, self-work. I've worked a lot on myself, and I continue to work on myself, and I will continue to work on myself because you are your ongoing project. You're always, or should always, be working on yourself. Boundaries. What does that look like? What does that mean? I've talked briefly about boundaries before. I think It was before the Mindset Myths miniseries, but anyways, protecting your peace from guilt or judgment. Again, I'm not just talking about moms, I'm talking about people in general. Like, people, when they see you're peaceful or whatever the case is, some people want to tear that down. And you've got to protect it with boundaries, healthy boundaries. I don't mean slam the door in somebody's face, attack them, and stuff like that. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about if someone is unhappy in their life and they're projecting onto you, or they're assuming things, or whatever the case is, that says more about them and where they're at in their journey than it does for you. So you should not allow that to attack your peace. I was big on, and I did do a series on protect your energy. Protecting your energy is protecting your peace. And what does that look like? It looks like having healthy boundaries. Saying no to things you don't want to actually do. Don't talk yourself into doing things that you don't want to do. And if you let someone down, you're just going to have to let them down. Obviously, not in a mean way, but the thing is, and the reality of life is, you're going to let people down in life. There's no way around it. Okay, so boundaries here. Realizing mom guilt, joy, and rest are your birthright. I about said birthright. I don't know why. So that is your right. Joy and rest. Let me just tell you, resting is key. Resting is key. Your body needs it. And it's not just something that you must earn. That is something that I've been going throughout motherhood, is not only slowing down and staying present, but is also resting and not feeling guilty for that. Like, I really put myself down for feeling guilty for resting and relaxing and stuff like that. Let me just say this too. If you're stressed out, if you're not feeling good, your baby feels it too. And I know that sounds like anxiety. That puts a lot of stress on you and stuff like that. I get it. I truly, truly get it, because when I'm not feeling my best, my baby feels it, and then he does not feel his best, So I really, protecting my energy, that's the reason why I made that series, is a highly, highly thing that I strive to do daily. I strive and prioritize my energy because it's also my baby's energy. I am his protector. And so, yes. So, this is also whatever works for you. So, continually to check in with yourself, right? So, whether that looks like journal your emotions, meditate, or pray. Take mindful walks. That's what I like to do, because movement, and it also helps, not only is it healthy, but it helps altogether, like in all ways. But that might not work for you. For me, what works is taking a walk in nature, feeling the breeze, smelling the smells, feeling the sun kiss your skin, and stuff like that. But that might not work for you. So, you might be someone who breathes and grounds yourself when you feel overstimulated. And what that might look like for you is maybe journaling, maybe meditating, or praying about it, writing about it. Take your shoes off, feel the what am I trying to say? Feel the grass on your feet. That's grounding, whatever grounding means for you. So, some other ways, if that does not work for you, is you could, join some mom circles. Community helps in some sense, yes. But also remembering that if you're someone who definitely needs therapy, counseling, whatever the case is, in this society, again, there's a stigma around that. I don't know why. But it is not, and you should not feel shameful for seeking out that if that's something you need. Seeking help is not weakness, people. It's actually being self-aware. And that's something that not everybody has. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move into the spiritual side of motherhood. So I kind of see motherhood as a soul assignment here. Something divinely timed. Obviously, if you're more biblical than spiritual, you might not be able to relate to some of these things that I say, but I truly do feel like babies come to teach us just as much about them as it does teach us about ourselves. And I hope that makes sense. I'm like, did that make sense? I hope so. I think you can kind of get what I'm generally talking about there. So also, putting yourself in your baby's shoes. So observing life through your baby's eyes. It not only brings presence, gratitude, and awe, but it really does take your brain almost like out of your head for a minute and think about it from a different point of view. And that is being an empath. All in a roundabout way, that's basically being an empath, and I'm definitely a big empath person. It's something that I can't really turn off. I've tried to turn it off. I truly have. It's something that I can't, and if you're someone who can turn it off and on, that's great. However, you might not truly be an empath. You know what I mean? Are you truly an empath, or are you just empathic? There is a difference. Anyways, feeling a stronger connection to faith, intuition, and divine feminine. So, yes, for me, motherhood, pregnancy, and postpartum has all been very just that, like feeling a stronger connection to my faith, my intuition, and the divine feminine. So surrender and trust are key parts of motherhood journey. And what I mean by that is we can all try to schedule, we can all try to do what all we want to do, right? But in the whole grand scheme of things, sometimes and a lot of times it's all about surrendering and trusting that whatever it is going to work out the way that it's supposed to, right? So that's all about having faith and hope and staying hopeful and faithful in the... Yeah, I think that explains. I don't want to over-explain. So key idea is motherhood didn't just change my life. It deepened my soul. And it truly, truly, truly did. Motherhood has changed my life for the better. I would do it all over again. I would go through anything and everything. But it has taught me a lot. It has been amazing for me and continues to be amazing. And it continues to grow and heal and all these things. Like, there's so many different facets to motherhood. It's so hard to get the point across to someone who maybe hasn't experienced motherhood yet, maybe you're about to experience motherhood, it's scary. Don't get me wrong, it's very scary. But all at the same time, it's very beautiful. And it's worth it. It's so, so, so worth it. Like, there is not a doubt in my mind that, you know what I mean? Like, all I have are positive things. Like I said, it is hard. Don't get me wrong. Just because I'm saying all these positive things does not mean that I'm saying that it was easy by any means, by any way, shape, or form. It is not easy. But it is beautiful. I think that's the best way to wrap all that up. All right. So, without this being a super long episode after my super long episode, I want to go ahead and wrap all this up. Some reminders, some encouragements, some celebrations, and reassurance, and emphasize, and all the words, right? All the things. Like, the overall closing message here is, I just want you to embody and embrace you. You are an amazing mom. You are doing the best that you can. And you are amazing. Like, that's just all it is to it. Don't dim your light. Do not water yourself down to make others feel comfortable, okay? That is, if you don't take anything else from this message today, from this episode, you should take this from this episode, and that is to not water yourself down to make others feel comfortable. I want you to celebrate your joy. You should do that. Like, you just had a baby, you know what I mean? Or you're about to have a baby, like, you know what I mean? Or maybe you're planning on having a baby. Like, you've got to celebrate your joy, because without apology, celebrate all the joys of motherhood without apology. Don't say, I'm sorry, or, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think I've explained it. I have an issue sometimes with over-explaining things. I want to remind you that your light inspires others to shine. So the fact that, someone who's tuning into this episode, this might really spark something within you and be the reassurance that you need. Motherhood doesn't have to break you to build you. Okay? I want to emphasize self-love, grace, and honoring your journey, wherever and however that may be and look like. So, an affirmation here, and a quote, an idea to think about. You're not just raising a child, you're also raising yourself. Because you are becoming someone that you've never met, you've never been. You might even look at yourself in the mirror and not really recognize. Like, that's you, but you can see that you're changing. There's photos that come up in my memories, okay? On TikTok, the TikTok memories, the Facebook memories, and all this stuff of photos and videos that I took a few years ago before I was pregnant, and I cannot recognize that person. I no longer associate myself as that person. I no longer resonate and connect with that woman. Obviously, I look at these photos and videos and, yeah, that's me. And I remember doing that and taking that, but I am someone I've never been before, and that's beautiful. And you should embrace and embody and really elevate When you vibrate higher, you start shedding the old. And that's all about what fall time and the seasons of change is about. Again, some things to leave you with and to think about before I totally end this episode is to not only protect your peace, but protect your energy, people. Love yourself harder. And reminder that this life is worth it. Especially the life that you brought into this world. So, with all of that being said, I hope you all listening and watching, tuning in, got something from this episode. I really, 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 truly wanted to talk about this because it's such a topic that I felt called to talk about. My heart is in it, probably because I'm going through this myself, but to also help other women out there. I think it's truly something that women should be talking about. You know, all the different facets of pregnancy, motherhood, postpartum, because I know, you know, postpartum depression is truly a thing. And I've seen and heard women go through it. And yeah, and that's, yeah, I mean, that's what I think, and I felt, let's talk about this because I feel like I said, it's a message that, and a story and things that we should be talking about as a society, as humanity, you know, and that's the reason why I want to bring on my friend, her husband, and my fiance. Because I'm a new mom. She's a new mom. Her husband's a new dad. My fiance is not a new dad. So we all have our story, our experiences, and different points of view. With all that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please share it to someone that you think needs to hear these things or could benefit from hearing these things. Or if you know someone who is struggling, you know, postpartum wise or through motherhood, through pregnancy, please send it their way. Hopefully they gain, you know, some new insights, points of views, and different things to think about. So yeah, with that being said, we have one more episode to go and season 1 is going to be wrapped up. So yes, again, thank you for tuning in. Hope you all have a great week. Bye.